Boom, 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 boom. Holy smokers! Who do we have here? I have a special guest today. His name is what? Licking wet testicles. Is that what that stands for?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, yeah. That's actually not the worst one I've heard. So I'll take licking testicles. That's yeah. I should get that tattooed somewhere.
So, in all seriousness, who the hell are you while you're on my channel?
I'm just here to. I'm one of these fake views that you keep buying for Scott. So I just thought, it's time I showed my face and shared the true identity. I'm the guy who's buying bots for everybody. You, Kevin, Mr. Beast, they're all from me.
Damn, you must have boatloads of cash. How are you getting that money?
Yeah, so I moved to Eastern Europe about 10 years ago and I started this dog food company. And yeah, it just took off. So much so I actually stopped selling products and stopped filing my taxes because that's how good it went. Yeah, so
Yeah,
really.
I heard you like close your business down like years ago, but somehow you're still making money.
I didn't need to. I earned that much money from it. And with the exchange rates here in Hungary, the dollar to the huff now is like 500. So basically, yeah, I'm a millionaire now. 500 huff to a dollar or something crazy.
Well, congratulations. I'm jealous, man, because here I am just working a W-2 job. And then in reality, all you have to do to get successful is just start a dog food business.
Dog food business, move to Hungary. I mean, realistically, if you sold all that stuff in the backdrop there, I mean, you'd already have 2 million. So, just move to Hungary. Good.
You talking about all this shit back here?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's all my wife's stuff, by the way.
Oh, okay, then she's the one with the money, but that's probably why you married her anyway.
Yeah. You got to marry up, man,
Fuck yeah.
So I first discovered you because it's the whole drama with Tom Nash and getting exposed and Snot Schaefer. So how are you connected with Tom Nash? Are you like his butt buddy or something?
Yeah, literally, yeah. So me and Tom, we basically met on Grifter about 5 years ago. I was traveling to what country was he exposed to be living in? I think Botswana,
Georgia.
Scott. Yeah, was it Georgia? Yeah, it was
Georgia.
definitely Georgia, nowhere else. Where he lives, and me and Timothy Nolan Nash, which is his actual real name, we just matched on Grifter, and it was it was hard to date at such a distance because I actually moved to Michigan for him. It turns out he wasn't there, so yeah, that's how the love started.
That is a beautiful story.
It is, yeah, it is, and now we just buy fake views for each other, so it's great.
Yeah, I guess that's how you succeed on YouTube now. Because I've noticed like a lot of the finance channels, it seems like they've kind of peaked out. Because the bear market, everybody's losing money, everybody's losing interest. It's like holy crap. The only way to succeed now is just buy bots.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's weird, right? Because it's sort of the inverse. I mean, we had, I've been saying, I remember when AMC was running, I was, saying don't buy AMC because revenues are pretty shit. The country's got loads of debt, but apparently that didn't matter. So, they all made bank on that. And now, the inverse happened. These moon boys who are making all bank on pumping AMC, Palantir, and all this other stuff, they're been asked questions of, but I can't say much because I bought Alibaba. So
I'm right there with you. What is it, like $75 now? Just absolute destruction.
Yeah, something like that.
At least you have a chance of coming back. Like with AMC, that company's freaking.
Yeah, it is.
They may survive. Baba will come back.
I don't know if this is a first, but I was short AMC with options for quite a while. I made good on AMC. But you could call me a shill for putting out videos saying don't buy AMC when I was short, but. Fuck it.
Yeah, that actually hurts my feelings because I actually bought, like I was just screwing around on Robinhood. I bought an AMC put. But, I mean, my thesis was correct. AMC was unprofitable, way overvalued trash. But my expiration date or whatever was way too short. So I actually lost 100%.
Oh, shit. Yeah, but I mean, I think, so I have like the most reliable indicator in the world. I've got my best mate is a British guy. He's in the military as well. He's still in. God help him. And whenever he mentions a stock or a crypto to me, I know, okay, I need to wait 30 days and short it. Let's find a way.
Dude, there's actually some truth in that. Have you heard of
Really?
the Ape Father?
I've heard of him. Yeah, I think he's that, Yeah, I think I stumbled on him once or twice. Yeah.
Dude, he is a bubble indicator. Every time he makes a video about something, it's like the next couple days or weeks that stock absolutely collapses. So
Well,
you
you
want
know
a good
the
indicator, you can check out him.
yeah. Well, there's also the Jim Cramer. There's an inverse Jim Cramer ETF out there somewhere. I don't know if they banned it in the end. They were talking of it, but yeah, it was basically whenever Jim Cramer mentions a position to buy, we short it for 2 hours or something ridiculous like that with 5% of our portfolio, and it outperformed the S&P for 10 years in a row or something, like back tested. There's some weird. I'll find the article and I'll send it to you on an email. But yeah, it was some
You know,
weird.
because I remember reading about Jim Cramer. What I heard was he was like in the very short term, he's like kind of on point, but obviously,
Yeah,
like any time after that, he's totally freaking wrong. So I could see, like, I mean, I don't short, I don't play that game, but except for
yeah,
AMC, obviously. But you know, you could still get
yeah.
screwed if you short for the short term.
Yeah, you dabble. I mean, so I do dabble in a bit of day trading sometimes. And usually it's short biased. So like you'll see a shit company with loads of warrants, loads of options, gapping up 100% pre-market, and they've got they're going to dilute you. Like it's already registered on a 424B. They're going to dilute you. So I'll just wait for a majority of people to be trapped. I'll look for a quick term short. I mean, I'm out a couple of hours. That's my usual short thesis. It's an actual day trade. Never swing overnight because you never know what's going to happen. Um, but AMC, I mean, that was just, you had the whole float at one point pretty much trapped, and their arguments were quite stupid in the fact that, it's, I can't remember what the word they were using, like, hidden shares. What was the word? There was a wording for it they were using.
Dark pools.
Dark pools and stuff like this, and I'm like, yeah, but that you're saying there's no proof it exists, but it exists. And then you're saying, like, so the whole thesis on the argument of, there's the SEC is going to help you. I'm like, look, the SEC is not going to help a retail investor over a hedge fund. It's just not gonna float. And moreover, it's like, we're going to teach them a lesson. You're teaching some of the smallest funds a lesson, and that's only going to give market share to the bigger boys who are not playing. So, like, it was just a dumb movement, really.
I mean, some of them still think the AMC is going to go to like $100,000, and they're going to crash the global financial system and become, all of them are going to be billionaires. And it's like, like you can't get more delusional and sad than that. And I've also noticed like the whole AMC movement is full of like extremely toxic people. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've noticed that, but it's
Yeah,
like
I
it's
did.
like a bunch of
Well,
criminals.
I think I was one of the first people back then to put out a video saying, "Do not buy AMC. The short squeeze won't happen." And then it went from like $20 to the peak. So it was literally a bad timed video. I think it was one of the most viewed videos on my channel, and it was insane. It was like 99% dislike to like ratio and stuff like this, and people just saying, and openly I said, look, like, I put the video out and it went up like 150% 2 days later, but it's gonna end in tears. The points are still valid. So I put another video out and called the top, and then every video since did quite well in terms of performance. But even still, you put out an AMC video, you're gonna get idiots.
Even now, man, like the AMC's collapsed. Like, obviously they issue the ape shares; those are like $1 or something. AMC's like $6. It's a disaster.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, and the best thing is like they're bringing out this ape coin, which is like an NFT dividend or whatever it is. I don't know how that worked, but as soon as I can, like, you basically just split off your stock, rewarded it to people who were bag holding with no value. It just never made sense to me. So,
Well, it was like, I mean, it wasn't even a conspiracy. It was like AMC just did that because they gave out the
yeah,
ape shares, and then their whole plan was they're gonna give out more so they could raise money. That was their plan all along. So it's dilute.
because they reached their limit on what they could dilute the actual ticker. But again, I mean, it's like going. They did this whole thing. Like, if you're an AMC shareholder, you can come and get like a free popcorn or a discount on something. I remember them doing that. There was a big thing, like, if you hold, I think it was 10 AMC, don't quote me on this, but 10 AMC shares, when you go and buy your tickets, you get like half price popcorn or a free popcorn, something like this, like, which makes sense, right? From a branding perspective, thanks for your loyalty, we've diluted you. Here's a bag of pop. That has a fundamental value, right? And like, fair one. That to me as a shareholder, I'd love to get a discount on Alibaba or AliExpress or whatever. That would make sense.
Was the deal to like you constantly get half off, or was it just one time?
I don't know if it was. I don't know if it was just a promotional thing. I can check it. But it was something along those lines.
What I'm saying is, like, if it was like a permanent thing, like you just have to buy 10 shares, like, I would do that.
I mean, buy it now, right? buy it now. But I'm pretty sure that it's not valid now. But so there was that, and then now they've done this. Like, I mean, now you're actually just getting literally something that has nothing backing it, other than a promise, which is we're gonna sell more. It was mad. I mean, that was one of the easiest shorts I've ever done.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't short because obviously I'm not a
Yeah.
trader. I suck at trading. But like I knew when I see a stock that is just obviously a bubble, declining revenues,
Yeah.
unprofitable, burning cash, I know at some point it's going to crash. I
It
don't know
has to,
when
yeah.
it's going to happen, but it will. And then I make all these videos knowing people are going to laugh at me, and then I end up looking like a freaking genius, like a year down the road.
Yeah, but the weird thing is then people who not many of them people come back and say I was wrong, right? I mean, there's so my as an example, I grew up in sort of like a mining town, if you want to call it that, in the north of Mass and middle of England, right? And my dad still to this day says the stock market's just a gamble, and I'm like, well, it is in a way, but it's a gamble getting in your fucking car and going to work as well. Everything's a gamble if you look at it that way. But it's an educated gamble. You're looking at, sports, everything's a gamble in a weird way. So he's never invested in stocks or ETFs or anything. I mean, he's just got a pension, like just following fucking CPI or something in the UK or whatever. So he's probably doing quite well. But he, even to this day, I always say, like, why? And his dad got burnt. That's why his dad got really burnt. A few of his friends, he was working in the building power plants, like drilling rigs and stuff for offshore oil, and then went over to power plants, and he lost loads in the 70s. So my dad never touched it, and to this day he still can't understand mine. And I'm like, okay, but if your dad had have just stuck around, like if he had the internet as a tool, he could have realized he should have never sold. He actually sold, if you look at it on the year basis, he sold right at the fucking bottom. And that was his mistake. His mistake wasn't investing. His mistake was stopping investing and selling. And I think his dad was only buying. I think his dad was buying like the Nasdaq or something. It was something sensible. And then I went home at Christmas about 2-3 years ago in England, and everybody in this village was talking about a mining company, of all fucking things. Bearing in mind these people have lost, they're all coal miners, so all the mines were closed down in the fucking 60s and 70s and 80s. So they're all like against mines. And this mining company in the UK, I forget the name of it, I did a video on it, and they were all saying this mining company is going to pay a dividend, it's going to do this, and there's new management coming in. And everyone in my and where my dad did quite well for himself. He owns quite a big home improvement company, so relatively quite well. And everybody there's like, bricklayers who ended up opening their own like building company and now build hospitals. So everybody there's quite wealthy. Relative reasons. No one's like a multi-millionaire, but higher middle class, let's say. And everyone's buying, like putting thousands and thousands in this company. I'm like, I've never fucking heard of this stock in the UK. And I'm the only one who's got a financial background in this mining village. Everybody's like blue collar, working, like successful class people through physical hard work usually. And I said, I'm shorting it just instantly. Like they've doubled their float in 6 months. Like there's something wrong here. And the fact that I've got a barmaid telling me I should buy a fucking company, and I'm the guy with a financial qualification in the room, so I shorted it. And I'm again, it's another easy win. I made 95% in about 3 months. Everybody lost everything. Company's gone, done.
Jesus, do they get mad at you, like bitter at you because you made?
Yeah, some of them do, because I am actually, I'm really am an arsehole. I know you play the arsehole. I am actually an arsehole. So when I go home, I'm like, you guys are fucking idiots. Do you remember when you lost all that money because you didn't listen to me? I'm that guy. So it's and I'm okay being with that. I accept that. So it's, I think the world is missing a lot of people who speak their mind freely, and I'm that type of person. Say, look, for example, this guy I'm telling you about who's in the military, one of my best mates, Luke. He's really into Ripple, the cryptocurrency.
Oh boy.
And a lot of the British military are into Ripple, right? And I said, so I know probably more about the blockchain than I let on. Actually, I know a lot about blockchain technology, and actually, one of my good friends here in Hungary is the first Hungarian guy to write a book on blockchain, which was like 15 years ago. So I've watched it sort of slowly evolve a little bit. And Ripple does have a function in the terms of like, it's probably more, that technology is more likely to be accepted in terms of paying, South Korea was looking at having it as the way of paying taxes, because you can sort of trace every transaction throughout the whole coin. So if the IRS, as an example, wanted to, you paid your taxes to the IRS with 10 Ripple, as an example, you can then see every person who's ever held them 10 Ripple. So you can go back and see money launderers or anybody who's made illegal or not declared their taxes properly and say, actually, you said you had 20 Ripple when now I see 50 pass through your wallet in this year. So it's got that function where it makes sense from a tax perspective for a tax organization or a nation to have it. The problem is the nation's not in control of it. So that's why it's never going to be replaced. That's the same problem with Bitcoin. Ethereum, out of the cryptos I like, because in a way, I don't hold that much, but in a way, you can build your own coin off Ethereum's network. So it has a function outside of being a currency. But everything else is dog shit right now. Blockchain will be the future for sure. But right now, none of these coins, other than I think Ethereum, will exist in 10 years.
Yeah, I really kind of hope that central banks develop we have a bunch of central bank digital currencies. Because you mentioned the tax thing. There's a lot of tax fraud that goes on, I'm sure, around the world. Like I know in the United States, people use cash or they take cash for payment so they don't have to report on their freaking taxes. And it pisses me off because here I am, paying my freaking taxes like a good little boy every 3 months, quarterly tax payments. And all these freaking clowns are just not declaring anything and they're getting cash. So I hope at some point we have cash completely goes away and we just have everything digitally tracked because I think people should pay their freaking taxes.
Yeah, I'm with. Well, it's the tax is a weird one. I'm of the mindset everybody should pay their taxes, but they should only pay what they should be paying, no more.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that statement too. I'm not saying people should be taxed more.
Yeah.
Happening is people are committing fraud. They're not reporting their income.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I mean, I had this argument, funny enough, a couple of days ago, with somebody who's a YouTuber as well, funny enough, and I was saying, actually, in my video I just put out yesterday, I actually said it as well, where I'm a capitalist at heart, and I believe in innovation. I believe that bad companies should die, good companies should survive, and if they don't adapt to the change, they should die too. But I am also a believer that this whole tax the rich, tax the billionaire thing is that like in the UK, I don't know the exact figures, so I'm going to make them up, but it wouldn't be far off, and it's something along the lines of the top 10% of the UK in terms of income tax contribute to like 60% of the income. It's probably something similar, right, in the US. And how much, what would be a fair rate? That's always the question. It's like, well, more. And I'm like, but they're already paying the bulk of it. The problem actually is the lower middle class, most of them, like you say, are paying tax or trying to cut corners where and when. And there was don't quote me on the year here, and I can't remember the politician's name, but in Denmark used to have a really aggressive tax policy. It was like 50-something% across the board. They didn't have brackets. It was just, you worked in Tesco or Walmart, it was 50% plus, and then it's the same if you're a billionaire. Like, that makes sense to me. That's like tax communism, but it's fair. You're not punished for employing more people or being more successful. And my whole stance on it is if you build a business, you put your hard-earned risk on the line. Bear in mind, it's only like 1 in fucking 100 businesses that ever make $1 billion. Or maybe probably even 1 in 1,000 or 2,000. Like, what is that number? So you put your shit on the line, risk bankruptcy, risk your family not eating, and then you employ, I mean, how many people? Amazon, 10,000 employees? I'm just throwing numbers out here. They're all paying tax. They're all paying tax. So, like, surely you should be rewarded, not punished. For creating food for families, creating jobs, helping out the system. That's like my thing in it. I don't think you should be overly rewarded. I'm not saying you shouldn't pay tax, but what I'm saying is you should be incentivized. Another good example is right now in Europe, there's apparently a war going on and a big energy crisis. I've been putting out videos on it, and they want to tax the oil companies here. So Europe's only income from, in terms of like commodities of gas and oil, is from Total, BP, Shell, like their own sort of companies that they can control, like European companies, right? Russia's cut it off. There's big convictions between India and Turkey now, and Africa. America's gas, I mean, you got your own problems over there, so we can't rely on America like to fully fund Europe in terms of energy. And now you want to tax 33% of all profits on top of the tax you're already taxing oil and gas companies that are the only ones feeding you. Isn't it a wonder why they want to cut production, not increase?
Well, it makes oil companies uninvestable because, if you're investing in an oil company during, times that are bad for the company and they're not making a lot of profits, nobody cares. But the few times that oil companies have
Yeah.
kind of bonanza, well, you're not even going to get a lot of earnings because the freaking government's just going to take all the profits. So it makes it hard to
Yeah.
invest in companies like that.
Well, I mean, I've always been on the other mindset. So, in Europe, it's probably a little bit more because you had the Trump years, but we've had this whole renewable push in Europe where it's all been green, green, green for like, say, 15 years. And like, I love BP, British Petroleum, because they're actually investing more money than the UK government is into these renewable projects, but they've also got the fallback of oil and gas. So Bernard Looney, who's the CEO there, is in my opinion probably the most genuine. If you just if you ever see him on Bloomberg, just listen to his interviews, and you will buy the company, because the guy is. You can just see he's a genuine guy, but also very fucking smart and sensible, and doesn't when COVID was happening, oil was getting battered. He's like, "What are you doing with your cash reserves? We've cut our dividend, and we're investing into basically the infrastructure which will become electrical cars." I don't think anyone's arguing electrical cars are going to be the future. So he's basically put the most now charge points in the UK for cars. They're all BP. So he's gone and done that during COVID, So it's like we've got that covered. Oil price goes up, we win twice. Like there is these like sort of gray areas where you can win, and now you've sort of got BP as an example. If Britain was part of the EU still. EU proposed this tax. They're going to tax them like hyper tax on top of their tax because they're making money. Bearing in mind they lost billions during COVID. You're going to tax these guys more money to give out food stamps, literally food stamps, when these are the guys who want to invest this same money into the green projects you've just pushed. It doesn't make sense,
Well, I mean, it doesn't have to make sense. It's like, when times are tough, people just look for something to blame. And, the oil company's making all these profits while we're, having a hard time paying our electricity bill. And they completely ignore, like you said, when they were losing money hand over fist.
Yeah.
But it's actually one of my biggest regrets. I was looking at oil during the pandemic, and I was like, it collapsed. Oil companies had collapsed. And like people were saying, oil's done.
BP up, man. I was scooping BP, Shell,
or even like
Exxon.
an ETF. Like that went up way more than the S&P 500, I think. Like you could have made a freaking killing if you had invested in oil, and I kind of regret not doing it, but oh well.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, look, in hindsight, I mean, we'd have all bought Farmer at the bottom of COVID as well, right? So, hindsight's a horrible thing in a weird way, and I just think the world right now in terms of investing, it's being on. Those of you who don't know, I used to be a wealth manager. Like I used to specialize in pensions. That's actually my background. And speaking of clients and friends, I literally had a call with a guy called Josh recently, like literally about an hour ago, and he's been speaking to a few of his friends who are working at BlackRock, who are managing sort of not the whole fund, but like decent position size funds, right? Funds within the funds, if you like. And everybody said basically the S&P the SPY at 300 is a buy every day. You just close your eyes, buy. And that's like, I don't even know where that is from now, but we're not too far away. So everybody keeps crying about a crash, but all these hedge funds, all the, what's the word I'm looking for? All these like bigger investors, they're all sat there just in cash waiting. I don't think the market, I mean, basically we're looking at another, 15, 20% from where we are now, which would be chaotic. But I mean, a 300 SPY, like that's 15%.
I mean, honestly, I say this all the time. I've never been more excited than I am right now because of stocks going down. Like I buy the global index, and right now it's dropped like 30%. It's 30% cheaper. And if I'm going to hold that for 20 or 30 or 40 years, it doesn't matter.
I mean, the argument I would make is basically the last for the whole of, I'd say I'm just looking at the SPY now, from the whole of, I'd probably say about July through to, what was the peak there? Maybe even through to like the end of the second quarter this year, all valuations were overvalued. Like in majority terms, especially in the US stocks. You had analysts pushing out like insane projections on companies that weren't profitable, crazy earnings per share, and pretty much every company missed, right? Or just so like, fucking held the earnings. Everything was sort of overly pushed, and analysts were just too bullish. And now they've all reined back their own expectations. So I see that we'll see this sort of like sideways action for the next 6 months to a year, and then we'll see where we go. But the reality is, do you know the US CCI, the consumer index? the consumer
No,
confidence.
I don't even
So
track that stuff.
so there's a guy on Wall Street called Nick Colas. Got like everybody go and watch Nick Colas. I speak to Nick a few times. He's absolutely brilliant. He's always on CNBC and Bloomberg, and he literally grew up on Wall Street. And he's saying like, look, the VIX over 36 shows volatilities, and you're basically at its peak. So if the VIX is over 36 and the market's fallen, you should basically add some more than usual. And the US SCCI is basically the consumer, the price index, how confident are consumers in the market right now. And if you look at it right now, the market is literally in parity with 2008. That's literally the price we're at right now. You go back to June, we were the lowest point in history since the data started being recorded since 1953. Think like that was the biggest amount of fear we've had in consumers. So what is peak fear? What does it look like? Surely we're somewhere close now, and that should represent the buying opportunity, right? So, I mean, that's it. It's the big simple Warren Buffett, the fear and greed. That's it. It's
honestly, like if you look at the market now, I mean, like before when the pandemic was going on, we had this massive explosion, which was a complete clown market. And now we're at basically the same level we were before the pandemic, which seems like a more natural level. So it's like, I mean, I don't see why people are freaking out unless they literally started investing at the top of the pandemic, which I expect a lot of people probably did. But I try to tell people, it's like, if you're not selling for 20 or 30 years and you're buying an index, it doesn't matter. You don't even have to track the CPI or anything.
Well,
as long as the world's going to be a better place.
Well, there's arguments for that if you ask Joe Biden. Nukes. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, again, if you put the S&P on a 1 month chart, you're right at the bottom of that 200-day moving average. There's so many not bullish, but bottoming indicators in right now that in the next 6 months we should see a bottom, right? So how do you take advantage of that? And that's just regularly investing. That's it. There's no easy answer. The simple fact of the matter is provide, and this is the key phrasing that I keep trying to say, because I still get people asking me on my videos, like, what should I do with my tattooed chef? What should I do with this? What should I do with that? And it's like, you shouldn't have bought tattooed chef. You shouldn't have bought this company. You should have sold it a long time ago. What should I do with it now? Really? Like, I don't know. I can't put myself in that mantra. I don't know how much money you've put in it and stuff like that. So the reality is if you bought a legit company and you wanted to sell it, you wanted to somehow try and time the market, that day's gone. It was months ago. So selling now is literally an idiot's exercise. It's equally, if not more idiotic than you buying tattooed chef at the peak. Because we're going to reach that bottom at some point. I mean, I think we can pan out that the Fed's going to at least increase by 75, 50, 50, and 50 throughout the year. That's pretty much nailed on, if not more aggressive. But when they slow that down, that could be a catalyst. But the problem is just finding what the catalyst will be to prove the market bottoms in. And I don't think I can't see what it is. I can't see the war stopping tomorrow, or at least in the next year. I can't see ceasefire or peace breaking out. I can't see inflation coming down realistically. I can't see. The other thing is I can't see employment coming down that much to slow down spending either. So it's just a sideways market for the next year. That's it.
Or it could be longer. I mean, some people are calling for a flat decade, and honestly, I hope there is.
Me too. I mean, the downside is like, for me, I've not had a salary since like a proper salary. I've been like sort of self-employed and self-funded, if you want to call it that, since 2010. So my back of my head worry is what happens in 5 years if I can't continue. You know what I mean? Or what do I need to sell? Luckily, I've got enough diversification. I think I can, but that's a thought I've never had to deal with yet. So now it's like, okay, within 5 years, if the market does continue for a decade, can I guarantee I've got enough cash to continue taking advantage of? Because the thesis only works if I have. So how do I generate that? Do I need to go back into finance? Because I pretty much hung up my tie when I was 30. Like, everything's been fun to me since then, in a way, and it's a weird mantra that I'm trying to make sure. Because I mean, we know how this is going to pan out in 20 years. Like, that's a guarantee pretty much. Unless, again, Joe Biden's right. So that's where it's, in which case, who gives a fuck, right? Luckily, I own a shooting range. So I've got reserves there as well. Real diversification. So yeah, so for me, it's more about like, if that is the case, how do I, and this is what I keep saying to people, we've got a little small WhatsApp group, and the guys are asking me like, I'm already invested everything I can. What do I do next? Like, go and drive a fucking Uber. Like literally, that's it. That go and drive an Uber and put all that money into like, do what you need to do. Right now, I'm actually adding more money to my portfolio, or trying to, over a consistent basis than I would have 6 months ago. And that's what you need to be doing if you can.
Well, the
That's the
problem
hard
is
thing.
people think stocks are a piggy bank. They're not. There's something that
Yeah.
when you invest in a company, like if you're actually a long term investor, you basically aren't you cannot touch that money. I mean, without being stupid for decades, in my opinion. That's why I
Yeah.
have like an emergency. I have a bunch of cash sitting in an account, and yes, inflation's hurting it. I don't give a shit. It's there in case I really need the cash, something bad happens, and I don't have to sell my stocks, because that is the absolute worst case scenario. Because the one time you have to sell your stocks is probably a time when the freaking market's down, because you probably lost your job. There's a recession, depression. You have to have cash reserves. And like you said, you have to have diversification of income, which is what I'm huge about. I have multiple side jobs. I have a
Yeah.
full-time job, and it's always there. Like, well, if one thing goes bad, oh, I can tutor more. Oh, I can do YouTube more. I can do
Yeah,
this and that.
exactly. That's it's important. You need to have like these sort of, let's call it a side hustle. I've got a variety of businesses in fields you wouldn't even imagine. I was just at the shooting range today. I was there helping out, and one guy's like, "What do you do? Like, do you do this full time?" Like, dude, like I haven't been here in weeks. No, I'm actually financed. Like that's my back. How do you own a shooting range? Like, because it makes sense. It's just
I bought
something.
it.
Yeah, like yeah. Basically, I bought it, designed it, built it, and then built a very good brand. And it's something I enjoy doing. It's fun. It's fun for me. I'm ex-military, so it is a bit fun in that aspect. But it's not my 9 till 5. That's during we were very lucky in a way. We were actually meant to open about maybe 3 or 4 months into COVID. So, but because we hadn't started construction, we could just wait a year, and two of our competitors went bust. So yeah, but to me, that's like another source of income. If I needed it, it's there. I don't take anything. We just reinvest. We've hopefully got a second range coming. And then, we've got the finance, the YouTube thing as well. Like literally the whole YouTube thing started is I was doing a bit of day trading. There was a few scammers out there. And I thought, fuck it, I'm just going to do some day trading videos. That's where it started. Like people were interested in it back then with Tim Sykes and all these other fucking clowns. So we did that. We created a chat room, and then that's when LWT was spawned, which stands for liquor with ticker, because we used to have a beer. Most of our guys are in Europe, so the market's afternoon market time. We're in the evening. We're already having a beer, so we'd have a beer and a bit of a crack, a bit of a chat over the stocks. And then I realized there's so many mistakes happening with the long term side as well, which is insane, because long term investing is the easiest thing in the world. It's not hard.
Yeah, I just buy an
If you
index
think,
every 2 weeks. It's hard,
that's what I'm
bro.
saying. If you think it's hard, it's not. All you got to do is just buy an index. That's exactly it. The key thing is sticking to it. It's a mantra. But I don't. On the cash side that you were saying, having cash sat around, I don't. This is my cash there.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I'm terrified of a scenario where because I know if I had no cash and then I had
Yeah,
this big freaking bill come up, like because I'm a homeowner, I got kids.
yeah,
The only thing I can do is sell my stocks. I don't have any other option. So I have like almost 20K just sitting in a freaking savings account, and it sucks because of inflation, but
yeah. But
you need that for an emergency.
yeah, I mean, I don't think it sucks. I think it makes perfect sense. I mean, you've got to do what you can, right? I mean, like I've got like 140 grand of whiskey sat behind me. Like that's yeah.
Holy, are you serious? Where do you live?
I'm absolutely serious. Yeah.
Steal your stuff.
I live next to Tom in Georgia.
Mm.
Yeah, no, so I got into whiskey investing while I was in the military, loosely. And whiskey sort of enhanced my love for the market in a way, because it I learned about dilution. That was like the first thing. Like dilution and float were like the first things I started to look at, because I could relate it to whiskey. So if you've got like a rare barrel of whiskey that's 40 years old, you can't make it again. That corn, that wheat, that barley, whatever was used in it doesn't exist. You know, the quality changes over time, and that whiskey then is got, let's say, 200 bottles in circulation. Rich people buy it, they open it, now there's 100 in circulation. Supply demand, that's it. So you just got to find a good bottle that's relatively not going to be made again, that's hard to make again, and wait.
You just have to hope that there is some demand at some time in the future. That's
Well,
the
I mean,
big risk.
there's endless amounts of, going back to the 70s. There's like whiskey ETFs now, and they're always every year outperforming the S&P, every year, like without fail. The thing is with whiskey, I mean, there's these bottles. Where am I? There, other side there. These are called Lagavulin 16. They're a smoky whiskey. They were very popular during COVID, and they were that popular because anyone could buy them, right? So like they're $50 a bottle, like not expensive. And it's a really smoky whiskey. They became peated, that it's called. They became very popular, but they ran out. It takes 16 years to make a fucking bottle. Like they ran out. So then they started selling the 12-year. Then they started selling the 10. Now they're on 8. Talk of going to 6. And with whiskey, it's like anything, bottled like wine. The longer you have it, casked, the better the taste apparently is. So they physically don't have it. It doesn't exist. So these bottles here I bought for like, I don't know, like 35 euros. So like, let's say $50. They're probably going for about $120 right now. I got 30 bottles.
Woo! Now I have a question for you. Did you invest in Pokemon cards?
Fuck no.
Yeah, I remember during the pandemic, it was freaking wild, and I saw all these people getting into it on YouTube, and I was like, guys, I get like a whiskey bottle. Okay, there's always aficionados for whiskey bottles. Pokemon cards, come on, like that was a massive.
Do you know what the thing is? I'm sort of. I was of the generation in school where these were coming popular as I started growing pubic hair, so I wasn't that interested. And for me, it wasn't like, the cartoons wrong with my brother watching it, something like that. I never really got the fantasy, but I understand the value. It's like a nostalgia value. But then again, you just got a little tip. I hope we split.
We got to dance. Hold on, my freaking mouse works. You got to celebrate, man. Come on. Thank you, Juan. I almost called him John.
Yeah,
I love my tips. I've noticed my super chats have gone down a lot because I think a lot of people are, either they hate me now or people aren't making as much money and they're being squeezed by inflation because my super chat revenue is absolutely plummeted. I don't know if you have
I rarely go live. So, I mean, I live in Hungary where the internet's usually, I just had to spend a fortune upgrading it to get this quality. So, there wasn't any fiber optics in my street to give you a clue. Like it's Hungary's like literally the third world of fucking Europe.
Why did you choose Hungary?
Taxes.
You a tax cheat?
No, honestly, what it was originally is I was moving around Eastern Europe with work at the time. I came to Hungary. I was meant to be here 3 months. I'm now nearly 11 years in. So it's all right. It's got its drawbacks, everywhere has, but it's relatively cheap. You can do a lot more things here. It's a much more smaller community in a way. Like you can sort of find your way around. Everybody knows everybody. It's a really small, weird place, and because it's also, this is a bad thing to say maybe, but because it's an ex-communist country, there's only like I'd say 15-20% of them who have like sort of the business mantra that we have in the West, and everybody else is happy with 9 till 5. And that might sound really bad, but that's the reality. Everybody else,
it's an advantage for you.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So like majority of people, and even the people I employ and love, like a lot of them are just hands in the pockets, head down, saying it's shit, fuck the government. While the other 20, like there's 20% of the people just getting on with the job and making shit happen. So, but that makes the attractiveness to me. So, I love the place. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I've got to say,
I'm kind of jealous because like I'm stuck in Virginia, and Virginia is not like the worst taxed state, but we do have an income tax. Yeah. But we have an income tax. We have personal property tax. We have real estate. We have every freaking tax. You can sales tax. If I could, I would move to like Florida, but all my family's in freaking Virginia. So
yeah, but just move to Vegas. Jeremy's gonna have a spare room, lodge.
Well, I don't know if you saw, but I will be in Vegas next month, and if I could see Jeremy in person, I would definitely take that opportunity. But he hasn't responded to any of my challenging videos yet.
You know what you should do? Yeah, but you should reach out, I think, to Graham Stephan and see if you can get on the podcast.
He won't do it. I've already tried to get his girlfriend on, and it didn't happen because like they're so closely intertwined.
Yeah, they live next door.
If she comes on or he comes on,
they literally live next door. They live next door to each other, from what I understand.
Yeah,
Literally.
they're all intertwined. So if one comes on here, it's going to embarrass, it's going to piss off Jeremy, and they're going to have problems with themselves. So they're all going to completely
No, but
ignore
I'm
me.
saying Graham Stephan's house is next door to Jeremy's.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, so
I mean,
it's like
I'm sure
you
it
can
is.
literally knock on his door. But
I mean, I told
anyway,
Jeremy I was going to come to his house. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to do that, but
yeah,
I mean, it would be funny to actually like talk to the guy and like really
it's
confront him.
it's a weird one. I mean, I watch the Iced Coffee Hour from time to time, and I've had a brief chat with Graham because I put a video out basically about when Graham was pushing the cryptocurrency, and he messaged back a very mature response basically. I mean, my video was basically saying like, look, out of all the bigger channels, I think Graham was the one that was like sort of. I mean, he's an average guy, right? Like, I think that relates in his videos. He's just no push upbringing. He doesn't really try and push too much. And he reached out, and I messaged him a few times, and one of the very few times I've used Instagram, uh, and yeah, I mean, he asked where I lived and stuff, and maybe if I'm in Vegas and stuff. But yeah, that group it's a weird one. And I think now looking at what's happening with because they used to have their own podcast with Kevin. I think Kevin realized that they're heading in dangerous waters personally, this is what I think, with Jeremy and Andre, to be honest. And I think then Graham's probably realized, and that's why he stepped back and done his own team a little bit more than he should, which he should. I mean, at the end of the day, I think out of all of them, the one that relates to the most people is probably Graham. Meet Kevin's probably gaining more traction because he's putting out 25 times the amount of videos. And selling his course like there's no fucking tomorrow.
Well, Graham's the only responsible one in the group.
But yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
Jeremy's a straight up grifter, but Graham's not perfect, and he's done some stupid stuff. But overall, his overall message always seems to be you should have most of your money in index funds, and then if you want to buy this stupid crypto, use it with a small part of your portfolio. That's why I don't really bash the guy because he's not really that bad of a scammer. Whereas Jeremy, that's
I think like how do I so off camera. I will tell you how much FTX were paying people because I know what some channels were getting.
Well, Tom said on his videos like he was getting 50 grand a month. He said that in one of the videos. So
yeah,
I'm sure they were making 100.
Yeah. So majority of them were getting 50 plus per video from FTX. Bearing in mind some of them had never ever gotten like cryptocurrency on FTX. So that's the reality of the finance world in a way. And I think like with Graham, I just watched the Iced Coffee Hour, and they had FTX as like their first sponsor. Oh, was it one of his other videos that he just put out? It was FTX was their sponsor. And it might be sort of immoral, but at the end of the day, Graham's got to look after his family. I know, okay, he's got money and you've got that argument, but look, if you don't believe in crypto, if somebody came to you and said, look, will you put FTX in this video for 50 grand? It's pretty fucking hard to say no.
Oh, I 100. Even I like if somebody was like, "Hey, I'll pay you 50 grand a month," like I'd be like, it would be very tempting to do. Maybe I still wouldn't do it, but it would be extremely tempting.
Well, I mean, so I had this chat with Tom, funnily enough, not on the amounts, but something else, and it was FTX reached out to me probably about the same time they reached out to all these guys. I was obviously a much smaller channel. And I mean, we get fucking emails upon emails, right? Most of them are scams, like fucking Telegram me this shit. And FTX just went instantly like, look, I'm not a crypto channel. My audience isn't your audience. Go away, type thing. No, just listen. No, go away. About 5 weeks later, I was speaking to another YouTuber who's not been mentioned yet, who said like, yeah, I got 50 grand for that video. I'm like, fuck.
Wait, so were they paying 50 grand a month or 50 grand per video?
I don't know if it was per. I think
because that would be insane.
From my understanding, one of them was per video. From my understanding,
you'd have to be
the guy in question. 100%. He told me it was per video, but I'm sure there was other plans. But it's insane.
Yeah, that's why I don't trust FTX either because it's like, wow, they can.
Well, I put a video out about Sam Bankman-Fried, like with the stats and figures. I mean, the weird thing about the script, right? And I've talked to a few other people on this. Like I spoke to Tom on this at length. Is when these sponsors reach out to us and they say, here's the script. If there's something on the script that doesn't sound believable, I can read it for you, but no one's going to fucking believe it. Like the FTX script, I didn't put it in the video, but I have it. And it was basically in this script, when you're advertising FTX, it's something along the lines of, FTX is owned by Sam Bankman-Fried, who is a maximalist and plans to give away his billions for fortunes to charity. I'm like, why is that in the script about a fucking crypto broker? Like that's like that's
He
like
wants to
Bill
tell you
Gates
what a
saying,
nice guy he
buy
is.
Windows 98, Bill Gates has a foundation. Like what? Like it doesn't make fucking sense. So, it's I was like, and the thing is any logical person who should have money should see through that, right? So that led me to do my Sam Bankman-Fried video, and it turns out he's just actually investing a lot of money into political candidates now, rather than anything, basically.
Yeah, but his whole
Anything.
argument is he's going to give it away when he dies. Okay, you just have to trust him for now.
Cool. Me too. Well, I will.
Honestly, like if my kids turn out to be turds, I probably won't give all my money.
Yeah,
to
but I
charity.
mean, yeah, but no, but there's a phrasing there. When I die, I will be giving my money away to somebody, something. Fuck knows who, but I will be giving it away.
Honestly,
Like,
I suspect his billions won't be there when he's about to
yeah,
die. Because
well,
to me, I think the company, there's something very off about that company because they can afford to spend all that money. There's
yeah.
something very wrong.
Well, I mean, the way he made his money was genius, right? And the thing is he doesn't believe in cryptocurrency. Like, he's not a crypto maximalist. He's actually said he doesn't understand blockchain. He's actually said he doesn't believe in Bitcoin. What he was doing is the way he started to make his money before FTX was he was doing risk arbitrage trading. So he'd basically realized that, including the currency risk and the spreads, he could buy a Bitcoin in the US in, say, California online for, just throwing a figure out, $1,000, and in Japan, by the time the markets have changed, the arbitrage to sell the same coin on, like, in the same, like, couple of, like, hours, it would be like $1,200. So he'd make basically like 20%, like, instantaneously, and that's what he was doing over and over again. And he made, like, literally hundreds of millions from doing that. So then what he did is he then started looking into crypto brokerages so that he could arbitrage with other people's money, which is just smart business. I think that's fucking genius. Like, fair play, But everyone keeps touting him like this bit, fucking crypto icon. He doesn't like crypto. He doesn't hold it. He's.
I actually didn't know that about the guy. That's interesting.
Yeah. So that's how he made his money. Yeah, watch the video. I put a video on. It did really well. It had like 400 views. So
yeah, I've noticed on YouTube, someone like not yours specifically, but like you put together a great video that's like really informative. Nobody cares because it's not a popular topic, but you can get on there and shoot the shit about something stupid. That's like a stupid stock, and you get thousands of views.
Yeah, it's fucking insane. But yeah, the Sam Bankman-Fried video. Oh, sorry, 570 views.
Oh,
The
you've
one
moved
after that,
up.
yeah, the one after that did 2,000. The one that I've just put out did 6,000. So like, it's just mad. It's mad.
Well, when I first started on YouTube, I was talking about like the very basics of finance, and I got like 10 views.
Yeah.
And then I started talking about trash stocks and why they're stupid, and all of a sudden I'm 500, 600, 700, 800. So that kind of like pushed the direction of my channel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fucking mad. I'm just checking out this video. Because I did a video on saying why the European Union is about to collapse and people are getting triggered by it. It's funny.
Well, the EU, there's been so many. Like if you look back in like the 2010s with all the concerns about Spain and Italy and Portugal and Greece. I mean
they disappeared.
It's a very
They're
risky
not in the news anymore. It's not in the news anymore. The Greek debt crisis, Italy's debt crisis, Spain's pension crisis, Portugal's crisis, not in the news anymore.
Oh, but it's there.
It's fucking there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I think like European stocks, that's a big reason why they've sucked over the last decade or two.
Yeah,
They've had all that problem.
There was so like when Brexit was happening, obviously Hungary's a European country and EU member, and there was all this talk like, are you voting for it and all this stuff, and I said, I try not to get involved in politics too much because genuinely I don't really care. I think everybody's got faults and gains. All I hope is whether the person I voted for, like, there's a big example when Trump got elected, right? And I have a friend, I won't mention her by name, but we trade together sometimes online, and she's an Asian American lady who's married to a African American lady. And they're both, I think she's Navy, right? They're both maths teachers. So they're as far left as you can imagine, right? And I love this girl. I want to make this very clear. But when Donald Trump was elected, I asked her the simple question. I understand you hate the guy and all this stuff, but do you want them to do a good job or not? do you want him to prove you wrong? And the answer is he won't. And I said, that's not the question. Like, the people who hate Joe Biden, I always say the same thing, but do you want him to prove you wrong? Or do you want to be right? And that's where my politics changes. Whether the guy or girl I voted for or whatever in between, I always try and say, look, I just hope the person who's in charge, whether I voted for them or not, it does the best they fucking can, right? Especially in the countries we live and reside in. And right now there's failures on every account. And I think that people are waking up to that. But on the Brexit thing, I think Brexit was built on a bag of lies when there was a very simple case to be made. The European region is not growing year on year. That's it. It's not. It's actually steadily declining if you compare it to other economies. And moreover, the economical regulations inside the EU are punishing Britain. I mean, it's the second biggest contributor, soon to be the biggest contributor into the bloc. Yet it's got arguably the worst trade deal in terms of exports to the bloc. So that should have just been the whole argument. David Cameron tried to change that to Europe. They laughed him off and said, go away. He said, I'll have a vote. They called his bluff, and the rest is history. Since then, it's been a shit show for Brexit, for Europe as well. So I don't think the European Union is going to last. I think Britain's going to be overhauled as well very soon. And there's a lot of turmoil and fear and panic. The problem is it's the same as the States. There is no leaders on any side. That's the problem. There's just whoever you elect is even further than the last person in the opposite direction, left or right. Like
well, I mean, there's only so much a president can do. I mean, even the president of the United States has limited powers. Checks and balances.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, like I don't care who gets elected. It doesn't necessarily
exactly.
matter.
No, it's true. It's true. But again, I think there's so many agendas, like either left or right, and it's, it's hard. Like, again, I come down to it, and again, it's just my opinion. I'm a big capitalist, right? So I'm in like, look, I want to work my ass off. I want to work every hour for the dollar, the euro, whatever it may be. And it's not necessarily about, for example, spoiler alert, I've got a software company coming. And yeah, you didn't know about it, right? Yeah. Which is going to help you analyze stocks in seconds. It's the first of its kind. And we've been looking which jurisdiction we want to put the company in, right? And when we were looking at it, we said we didn't want to, I mean, we could have went the UAE where it's tax-free, right? It's a software company. We could have put it any fucking where. But I said, I want to go somewhere where it's semi-regulated, people will trust it. The tax rate's relatively fair, but it's more about the ease and how easy it is to do the taxes, right? Like, we've got 3 people who own the business. We're all in different countries. And we're going to have users all over the world. Now, in Hungary, it's going to be a fucking nightmare to account because you have to do an individual receipt. Even if you were paying on Stripe, I have to issue an individual receipt on the Hungarian system to every single user. So Hungary's out, even though Hungary's got a very cheap corporate tax. So for me, on the tax side, on the capital side, I don't mind paying back, like going back to the Denmark argument, the old system of 52 or 53% or 54, whatever it was. I don't mind paying that if I'm getting it back in a logical sense, or I'm incentivized to grow my business, or the ease of working in that region makes sense. The problem right now is you've got let's say the rich of the world paying an unfair proportionate of tax and been punished for that. So they're going to look to go to a more sensible jurisdiction, like we've seen with Google and Starbucks in Ireland, like going there for their cheaper tax in Europe. Or the other side of it is, the left argument of tax the rich more. If you tax them more, they're going to have more accountants, meaning they're going to not pay as much anyway because they're going to want to move their money around, right? I mean, that's like fundamentally what your job is to make sure them expenses are low, right? Expenses are as high as possible so that the taxes are as low. A good accountant always pays his worth. And I think that's, the problem we have now is there's no sort of fundamental... Whoever there, Carl and Vasco, who are saying Cyprus... That's where I picked. Congratulations. Yeah.
You get a
hello
cookie.
World.
Good job.
My channel is actually just called LWT, mate. So you guys seem to know your shit. So I picked Cyprus. A lot of financial companies are based there right now in Europe. Tax accounting is fucking amazing. And yeah, there is cheaper jurisdictions for tax, but ultimately the accounting side is much easier.
Well, one good thing about the United States is the system's so complex. I'll always have a job. So actually, I
Yeah.
like the complexity here.
Yeah, of course, of course. I mean, me for a business owner who don't like hiring people because it's an expense, I fucking hate it, right? So, you know, my first finance company here. Sorry about that. The old we had KPMG doing the accountancy, and obviously the bill for that was, you know, tens of thousands a year. And their answer would be, yeah, but I saved you 11,000, and I'm like, yeah, but I'm paying you 10 grand to save 1,000. That's shit. Okay, I get it. It's a profit in a way, but it fucking hurts me to lose that 10 grand every year.
Oh, but
It
people
fucking hurts
underestimate
me.
how much like bookkeeping and tax accounting costs because it's.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, it is
I do
expensive.
small businesses and they're getting $1,000 bills, $2,000 bills. It's pretty
Yeah.
freaking expensive.
Well, I only had 4 employees.
Yeah. Oh God, if you have employees in the United States, there's all these taxes and reporting
Yeah,
requirements
it's
you got to
insane.
pay. Like that's why like obviously I have businesses, YouTube, tutoring. I will never have a freaking employee. Actually, the only employee I will have will be my wife at some point. That's like my long term plan. But I'm not going to freaking
Yeah,
hire a bunch of people.
you know, it's a tough one because as time's going on, I'm like, you know, with this new software business, I've got about, let's do what the Everything Money Paul guy says. I've got 8 or 9 businesses upstairs. I haven't. I've got like 6. I actually know the number, but um, time is becoming harder and harder, right? And being honest with you, like YouTube, I actually enjoy the process. I think you know when you get a little hook to this um, platform, if you like, whether you know on whatever side you say, it's weirdly addictive. So I actually do it out of everything. I'd say YouTube's probably the most fun for me because I get to talk about stuff I'm genuinely interested in to other people who I've never met, right? So it's like the ultimate sort of traditional networking side. And but the other businesses are the ones that pay the bills at the end of the day. YouTube is not enough like money, especially like a channel like, you know, mine or your size is not enough money to quit tomorrow, right? So time is very important. And I've started outsourcing my editing. I've started outsourcing, you know, research on scripts. I've started out like the Sam Bankman-Fried video. All the research was done by a third party. So I've had to, and I lost on that video by the way because it did 500 fucking views. Like I paid the guy like $100 on research. I thought this video was going to do so well. It's
Dude,
still
just do what
might, it
I
still
do and
might.
just talk out your ass and do no editing. I mean, like,
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that Sam Bankman-Fried goes to jail very soon, so that video's perfectly timed. But time's running short.
yeah, it actually
So
amazes me how much content creators pay for like editing and thumbnails. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
how do you guys profit? There's no way. You guys probably.
Well, we don't. That's the thing. I mean, my YouTube channel runs at probably a loss of about $100 a month, as it stands.
That's nothing. That's not
But
that
yeah,
bad.
but like my whole thing is I, you know, I say it to my missus is, look, it's, you know, if let's say I'm at my desk 6 hours a day, as an example, like it's probably a bit less than that if you go all 7 days. But on a Sunday, I'm the guy who works on a Sunday. I work 7 days a week. It was my birthday yesterday. That was the first day I've took off since my last birthday. Like I literally I can't sit still. I actually do enjoy like physically doing something that's earning revenue. Like that's my goal. I'm addicted to it. So I've got to be doing something. I check my emails. I respond instantly 24/7. If I get an email ping on my phone at 2 a.m. in the morning, ping, they're getting a reply back. So I'm that type of guy. So I always round it back and say, look, you know, because it's $100 now. Like going back a year, because I still had an editor at some point, I'd probably lose maybe 200. So the way I always look at it is say, look, if you add all them 6 hours up, I'd probably be spending money somewhere else, which would be much more than $100. So, and this has the potential to make
Well,
money.
plus, even if you never become positive on your channel, like the channel itself, just the opportunities and the people you get to meet,
Yeah.
you don't know what kind of like future business association you're gonna get
No.
from just being on YouTube and being a public figure.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is why this software is a bit of an experiment, right? Because this is so this idea that I'm bringing out is something I thought of. No word of a lie. Like the initial idea was probably 10 years ago, and then I just assumed someone's done it because it's so simple, but it doesn't exist. What I want to do, I'll show you at the end of the stream. It does not exist. What I want to do, it does
Everything
exist.
money already cornered the market, bro.
I'm coming for you, boys. But it's a different level. The Bloomberg terminal, because I was lucky enough to have one of them for a few years, has a similar feature. But again, I don't think many use it. Now, this is like sort of my experiment where revenue could come into YouTube. But I don't want to concentrate on you. I don't even really want to promote it on my channel. I want it to be fully organic, because then I'll know if the product's good enough. The problem I've got is if I give this out to other influencers like my network, Tom, and so on and so forth, they're going to love it. I know they are. And I don't want them to automatically just throw it out to their audiences. I want it to be, look, we need to build this product slowly and then build on what so we've built, okay, so it's called Stock MVP. All right, that's the name of it. That's the first time I've ever mentioned it in public. So there you go. You can see it on my Twitter.
Nut.
Huh?
I'm gonna see if this is a grift or not.
Yeah, so it's stock minus. Well, actually, just go on the Twitter for now, because I don't think the website's even live yet to the public. But so
I mean, like, what is this? Like, just in summary, is it a more of like a long-term stock analysis thing, or is it basically everything you would want?
So the idea comes is dead simple. I mean, I don't want to give too much away until we launch, right? Because I don't know how much I can really. I don't know if the other guys are gonna be upset. But basically, it's a place where you can go in. That you'll be many features for you to do, but it's a place where you can check financials of a stock. That's the way we are similar to everybody else. But the MVP part is something very, very different. Yeah, that's it. 7 followers. It's growing.
I'll follow you. I'll throw you a bone there.
Oh, cheers, dude. Thanks. So like the idea is we wanted to build a system that doesn't exist anywhere, where it's hard to I can't give away the secret sauce just yet. Yeah, he forced me. He paid me $50 to be shirtless. So it's not the first time I've got my tits out for money.
So I do have a concern or a bear thesis for the business, and I'm not trying to shit on you.
Yeah, no, do it. I need them. This is what I want.
My concern is stocks are down. Stocks might be down for a long time, and I've noticed on YouTube people are losing interest in investing because that's what happens in every freaking bear market. How do you think you're going to overcome that if we're in a protracted bear market?
Because So the MVP, the part of the product, is actually not there to give you a yes on a company. It's there to give you a no. So anyway, long story short is, I'll give you another example. My mate, who I told you about, who bought AMC and he bought Ripple and all this shit, right? We're sat there in a bar. He's a military policeman. Like, he doesn't give a shit about financials. He doesn't know what a PE ratio is. He's just buying it because his mate convinced him, right?
I don't know what a PE ratio is.
Yeah, cool. Something about a pie. I don't know. Anyway, so the whole. So I'm sat there in this bar with him, right? It's literally, picture it, because we were sat there in Christmas fucking jumpers, half drunk, and he's telling me about AMC, why it's going to the moon, right? And I'm sat there like, dude, this company's got no. And he just answered me, and I was probably maybe too drunk to fucking think on my feet. But show me why it's bad. So I'm there on my fucking Yahoo Finance Premium and fucking whatever other software, like Seeking Alpha or something on my phone, going through the financial cash flow to market cap ratios and fucking shit like this. And it took me about 15 minutes to show him 5 points, by which point he was already playing pool, didn't give a shit.
Oh, dude, it doesn't matter what you show them on the financials. That's boring and that's stupid. And that's most people that are investors. They don't take 10 minutes to look at a financial statement, which to me is one of the easiest things you can possibly do. Is it profitable? Is the revenue growing? Is the cash flow positive? Are they diluting? It's not hard.
Yeah, no, it's not. But, if I said to him, look, the free cash flow sucks, he'd be like, what the fuck's free cash flow? So then so this is where we sort of evolved. So I said, look, why is there not a system where I can plug in my data, I can save it, and then every stock I put up, it pulls up the data from the financials that I instantly want in seconds, and I see in seconds if it meets my criteria, and if not, how much buy or how much what, and then it gives me an overall score if the company's worth going forward looking into more or not. That's where it started.
Well, that's another concern I would potentially have is like there do seem like there are a lot of products out there that do the same thing. I mean, you got everything money. I mean, I'm sure you have more, but like there's everything money. There's Joseph Carlton.
I can't give away the MVP yet.
Oh, so there's a secret sauce that you're not revealing to us.
There's a secret sauce. Yeah.
Are they gonna have a new naked chicks on there or something?
Well, let's not just say chicks. But no. You got some people there asking. There is a system. How's it different at a ticket? It's going to be vastly different in the MVP part. The problem is so we're gonna do a soft launch. It's gonna be very cheap. It's gonna be like $6-7 a month, if you pay for the annual for the first couple of users who sign up, because we want them to come in and sort of beta test the product, right? And that'll be grandfathered in. But we've got a list of 300 other things already that we want to slowly add to the system as time goes on. And when I say slowly add, these 300 things should be implemented within the first 6 months. So there's a lot more customization, but also the whole point of it is to save you time. That's the whole point of it. It's so you instantly get a yes or no. There's 40,000 stocks there in the market. You realistically need to be saying no to 40,000 plus of them. So the quicker you can say no, the quicker you can find the one you need. That's basically the mantra of the business. So a lot of people then come and say to me, well, look, there is a screener. You can put a screener with your criteria in, right? That's like the biggest sort of drawback to the thing. You could put a screener in, say, I want stocks with less than 20 PE, this cash flow, this whatever, right? My screener, my personal, let's say 10 things that I'd look for in a screener would pull up nine companies, roughly, as an example, right? 9-10 companies. But Apple's never going to be there because Apple's always more than a 20 PE. So if I increase my PE to let Apple be on there, I'm also getting another 700 stocks that I have to sift through. That is shit. So like the idea is that you do have that screener facility, but if you just type in a ticker because your mate in a bar told you about it, you can instantly come up and go to him, well, actually, mate, it's shit because of X, Y, and Z. And then he can pull it up on his and say, well, actually, it's all green on mine. Then the debate goes. That's the sort of first step, if you like, without giving away too much. I can't say much more without giving it away. I'd probably give away too much. What about Hungry Bull? What about Hungry Bull? Hungry Bull's banging. Yeah, I did actually download that for a day.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't any kind of stock analysis on there. It was just news and conference calls. Wasn't that all he had on there?
Yeah, I think it was just a newsletter, wasn't it, at one point? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, because he that guy doesn't do stock analysis besides revenue, of course. But
yeah, I mean, look, I don't know. It's the whole thing is if we do this, we want to do it right. To be honest, if you had to ask me, if I could have done this last year or the year before, I'd rather do it this year when it's quiet, because I want to build a product that is with investors who are sticking with investors for the investing for the next 10 years. So they're like the OGs, if you like. And where we want, I've been watching Discord grow. I don't really use Discord that much, but the biggest thing I took from Discord is they're letting their users vote on what feature comes next, right? They're letting them build the platform, and that's something we want to do too. So I want to get these guys in, and I'm in no rush to, so the system we built basically is, look, the first 1,000 people, it's $100 for the year. That's grandfathered in for life until you cancel that's it. But that will never be offered again. Them first 1,000 seed investors or users or whatever the fuck you want to call it, they're the people who are going to help us shape the platform. So that, let's say 100 grand that comes in, which is the figure, right? That 100 grand is there so I can hire the programmer who's a shareholder in the business to quit his job and go full time. It's there so I can hire the app developer that I've already found, and we can grow the business. So the idea is not necessarily to make money from this in the next 2 years. It's literally there to we want to make a seek in alpha, but for people who actually want to make success from humble beginnings. You know what I mean? We don't want to. Seek in alpha fucked itself up because it started letting fucking idiots do news articles. So we just want to stick to the core principles. Look, this is valuation. This is value investing. These are the core mantras. If you want news, go to a news website. That's
it. Well, best of luck, man. Let's do some comments, and then I gotta take a freaking piss, and we'll close it out.
Make sure you wash your hands.
No, I never wash my hands.
Julian, yeah, on the 20 PE ratio, it's a tough one because, I mean, I don't know what Apple's PE ratio is right now. That's a, what is Apple's PE ratio? But like, there is certain businesses that you're gonna, like Apple's no, what is it? Fucking hell, Jesus. There is certain businesses you're gonna have to. Apple's 22, so.
Wow.
I don't think having a nibble at Apple here and if it goes down further wouldn't be like a bad investment, to be honest.
Well, honestly, the PE isn't the perfect ratio
It's
because
not. No, it's not.
it's based on past earnings. So let's say a company has a really bad quarter, but in the future it's going to be really great. Well, if you're looking at the past 12 months of earnings and they have some kind of like accounting write down, the PE is going to look extremely high. When in the future that company, the forward PE, for example, is much better. So it's not like the end all be all.
Yeah, I mean, the problem I have with the forward PE or the pegs as well is you're also going on sort of a guesstimation too, right? So, like, there's
Well, that's all
arguments to
investing is. It's guessing.
yeah. But I mean, so I don't really, again, it comes down. This is why the app's going to be brilliant because it comes down to you as an investor, right? It's fully customizable, so it's not going to be like this is what LWT likes or this is what Strongman likes. It's like, what do you want? Like, we could sit here. You've just said you like forward PE. I prefer like actual PE ratio because
Well, no, I don't use forward. I mean, I don't even buy individual
but
stocks, but like
there's
it's all
debates
about
there,
the
right?
future. Is my point.
I mean, 2 years ago, everyone was saying it's all about the peg. Like when Tesla finally got profitable, it was the PE was irrelevant because it was like 2000 fucking 9 or whatever it was. Everyone's like, it's about the peg. It's about the growth
Or price to
forecast.
sales. That was another one I heard.
Yeah,
All
exactly. And it's like, yeah, but the growth ratios and it's only basically guidance of somebody else, right? So you can't, fucking no one knew Russia was going to invade Ukraine. So you're only going on what of someone else's assumptions. I like to make my own assumptions, and I know this is what they made, this is how much they made, and I can use that data. So right now, another example is I'm looking at Alibaba from every perspective right now, other than a world war, right? Because at that point, it doesn't fucking matter. So when I look at Alibaba, China's going through crazy lockdowns. So its share price is I'm not gonna sell this business unless there's an invasion of Taiwan, like I've always said, and because that's the only thing where there's no turning back. But I'm looking at Alibaba. I don't think it's fair to assume COVID. I don't think it's fair to assume the war. I don't think it's fair to assume the lockdowns. In 10 years' time, we need to use that data. So I'm looking at Alibaba from its 2009 revenues to its current market cap, because that was the last sensible year the world had. That's what I'm currently doing.
Yeah, I'm actually looking. The market cap's under 200 billion now. Oh my god,
it's insane.
Yeah, it's the big bear thesis of Alibaba is if China's actually peaked and they're never going to grow into the future, they're going to grow very slowly. Well, okay, then Alibaba's maybe justified. But if you look at like the past growth of China, and then you consider what's going on right now, could potentially be temporary. And if it starts to continue
America
to grow
has a
into the
bigger
future,
problem with growth than China does in the next 10 years.
you said the United States.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%.
100%.
Like people think the U.S. like our real GDP is projected to only grow at 2%, and yet they think U.S. stocks are going to
if you look 30, 40 years out, you have a bigger problem with population than China does. If you look 30, 40 years out,
So our demographics, like we have more young people as a percentage of the population, but China still has 1.4 billion people. People seem to forget that.
Yeah,
and those people are a lot poorer, and they have a lot more room to get.
Well, this is the other thing as well. Is the argument is but all these people are going to go into retirement. I'm like, yeah, but all these people have grew up on $200 a month. Your aging population have grew up on thousands, so your government has to support that.
Yeah, and that's going to come out of payroll taxes. People paying Social Security. It's U.S. isn't as great as people think it is.
It's not. So this is my argument. I mean, I'm investing heavily in the States. It's the biggest part of my portfolio about Shadow. And I always say, look, if you're sat there saying, you don't like China, it's aging population, so on and so forth, I'm like, well, you can't be investing in the States then because it's much worse on every angle.
Well, you can't do the U.S., you can't do Europe, you can't do anything except Africa and the Middle East.
If you put there's more households in China now with a net worth in cash balances of over 100,000 US than there is in the US. Like, just put that on paper. That they're the people, they're the consumers, they're the real consumers that have 100 grand in investments or in liquid format that can spend cash, that can boost the economy. There's more in China right now. That's the key driver of any economy is the GDP, the spending internally, and China is spending.
A lot of the hate from China or for Baba and China, it's because they're United States. They're our enemy. They're our rival. Yeah. So of course there's gonna be a lot of propaganda crapping on China. Oh, it's doomed. It's never gonna go. It's never gonna grow.
The other way. I've got friends in China, and they say it's the same in their news as well. But again, as an investor, you just got to be politically numb as much as you can be, and again, look far out. And like, you can't predict Russia's going to invade Ukraine. You can't predict a pandemic. You can't predict an oil spill. All you can do is you can just say, in 10 years' time, if something like a pandemic or if something like a COVID lockdown or a war in Ukraine, would this company survive if that happened in that time frame? That's all you can do, realistically. And most occasions, if you go through history, that thing you're planning for wouldn't happen. We've just happened to have it all at once. But the
Oh yeah,
reality
it's been
is,
a nightmare around the world these last 2 years. I mean, all the stuff just all seemed to happen at once. The pandemic, the war, blah 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 blah.
yeah,
It's
and I mean,
crazy.
it's been, I live on we live on the border, like Hungary borders with Ukraine, right? So like, it's not a popular opinion, this, but this Ukraine Russia tension has been here for decades. Like, don't let it into you that it just Putin woke up and said he wanted to invade. I mean, the invasion is wholeheartedly, I disagree. I think it's bad at every level, but this tension, if you cross the border from Hungary into Ukraine for like 100 kilometers, people are speaking Hungarian. Like, it's a Hungarian held territory historically. They don't speak Ukrainian. Laws were passed in 2017 where you weren't allowed to speak Hungarian in Ukraine in schools. And then the Azov regiment, which is now an official regiment in the Ukraine army, which is basically the Nazi football hooligan party, were going around beating people up for speaking Polish, Russian, or Hungarian. People were getting killed. Kids were getting killed. So, it's like you're getting told this one agenda when actually there's always other agendas at play. So that's why in the Ukrainian-Russia wars, I'm just sat here like, look, I'm a European. These are not in NATO. They're not in EU. Send humanitarian aid. That's it. Like, that's the harsh reality is Europe has this whole thing of you should be looking after your own people, right? They're getting cold. Winter's coming. There's no oil. There's no gas. There's no heating. Right now, the biggest thing Europe's looking at doing is they're looking at getting these power plants, which are on ships from Turkey. This is no joke. Like, there's these I think it's called NAD power ships or car power ships. That's the name of the company. It's a Istanbul company. They got 9 ships, I think it is, or 8 ships, and they can basically power 5 million homes. Right? They plug into a power plant and they just power. They're buying their fucking gas from Russia. It's Turkey. Like, the fuck.
Yeah, it's such a weird scenario where Europe is so
That's what I'm saying.
dependent on Russia.
You
Like,
can't predict the world anymore. You can't predict the world. Just look at the numbers, and if it makes sense, buy it. If not, just, I don't know, leverage Tattooed Chef or something.
yeah, I got a lot of shit for buying. I put like 300-400 bucks in this payment processor called Kiwi. That's a Russian company. I don't even know what the stock's worth because I think their stock market's still closed down. That stock
No, the
hasn't
MOEX
changed
is
price
open.
in
So
months.
when after the invasion happened, about 2 days in, you could still trade Sberbank, which is a Russian bank, but they have a huge operation here in Europe. I've still got shares. I still own their shares. Um, again, the thing is, and everyone says, why are you buying a Russian bank? Why are you buying a Russian bank? I said, like, Sberbank in Hungary was the second biggest bank in Hungary. I think it was the third biggest bank in Austria. I think it was the fifth biggest bank in like France. Like, it's a huge operation. They've got assets like they physically on the buildings they have. So a lot of them. So like they're a huge operation here in Europe. So it's more of a global bank, right? Like, fuck, that's like saying BlackRock was a Russian bank. They had operations in Moscow and Petersburg, So I bought that. All the shares have obviously been closed on the UK market on the LSE. They've been moved over to the MOEX. But if I could sell them, that is, there's a big if because I can't at the moment. But if I could, on the current prices they're listed on the MOEX in Moscow, I'm up like 400%.
Damn,
And
that's
is it morally wrong or is it morally right? Genuinely don't fucking care. I've got a 3-year-old boy. He needs a yacht.
dude. Morality does not factor into my investing. I mean, like I hate when people grift. Like, that disgusts me.
Yeah.
And people make money off selling lies. But like looking
Yeah.
at a company, I don't care what the company does. Tobacco company, alcohol company, whatever. As long as you're not like murdering people directly, I don't
Well,
care.
it's one of these. I mean, I've started looking at Smith and Wesson. I think Smith and Wesson and cash flow is severely undervalued. There's a big, obviously, anti-gun narrative, and justifiable or not. But at the end of the day, is you've got a Second Amendment in the States. You've got wars going on around the world, and then you've got the actual sports competition shooting, which is popular around the world too. Smith and Wesson are massively cheap, in my opinion, so they're definitely worth a look. People saying, why are you buying guns? It's bad. And I'm like, look, it's not the guns that are bad, it's the people. Like, that's if the regulations are so simple that any dickhead can get a gun without any fucking training, that's not Smith and Wesson's fault. Like, that's like saying, Diageo in the UK are the cause of alcoholism because they sell whiskey. It's fucking stupid.
I mean, you could always find something bad about every freaking company. That's why I mostly ignore that crap. Even the companies that claim to be like super
Like,
liberal,
yeah,
they do bad stuff too.
yeah, exactly. I was talking to somebody about I think it was Alibaba. Yeah, it was Alibaba. I think it was on. Don't quote me on this. I think it was on Twitter. I'll try and find the conversation. It's fucking hilarious. And they're saying you can't buy Alibaba because China. It's Chinese, and Chinese have these whole, education camps with the Muslim minorities, right? And I said, my guy, in your profile picture, you're wearing a Nike hoodie. Google Nike sweatshops and shut the fuck up.
I mean, you can find bad things that every country has done. Like even the United States. I mean, we basically we wiped out the Indians. You know?
Kingdom of Finance.
It's a strong man's dad. Yes, that's my dad. He's like 2 years older than me.
I'd be very disappointed.
Honestly, I'm too sexy to have him be my dad. Oh,
in the lack of facial hair.
Actually, I can't grow a beard, man. My beard is like trash. That's why I shave it all the time.
Oh, Jesus. I said I'll shave
it. All right, man. Well, I got to take a freaking piss.
Enjoy, my friend.
Any last comments, concerns, goodbye wishes?
Don't buy dog food from Scott Schaefer.
Agreed. And with that, let's have a Scott Schaefer outro. Cheers.
Love it.
Oh, no. Oh, no, no.